but also we are celebrating the achievements.
We all remember that Saturday we were in Umuganda, and its seeds are carried far to the region. You all know that our very own chairperson here is currently the chair of the East African chapter of the African Real Estate Society, and across the world, because you all know that this institution is a member of the Institute of International Valuation Standard Council. We are no longer a small local outfit. We are now international players on African real estate stage. As I was introduced, myself standing here before you, I'm leading the committee for African Real Estate Society, the Committee on Francophone Project. That is a committee to integrate more than 50% of the Africans to the society. Allow me to tip my hat to the pioneers who held that first shovel, to our first chairperson, Mr. Emmanuel Egide Gatsirombo. We are shaping tomorrow's markets and empowering the next generation through women. Women around here, hands up. I congratulate you on the women's session that we held as part of the pre-conference activities. And through our youth, young people here, hands up. I am shocked. There is no young people here. Huh? The entire population of Rwanda is more than 70% youth. And I'm sure IRPV would be even higher than that, because starting from myself, backward, all are youth. So the young people around here, I also congratulate you on the Young Valuers session that we've held for the very first time in Rwanda as part of this conference, as a pre-conference activity, and everybody who has contributed to that. Thank you very much. That's because a portfolio that isn't diversified is obsolete, is at risk, and a professional that doesn't renew itself becomes obsolete, and for sure it renews through young people. So today, let's raise the roof, figuratively of course. After we've properly valued it, let's understand the value of the minds in this room who value other people's property and give it value. So we should be actually the most value in the society. We come once again, welcome once again to everybody to this magnificent celebration of 15 years of purpose, progress, and pride. Continue to shine as a lighthouse, guiding Rwanda's prosperity towards ever safer and prosperous shores. Thank you, and may your valuations be accurate, your integrity unshakable, and your prospects forever prime. I recognize the presence of a big number of visitors here, our friends from Africa and the other parts of the world. But to my level, I leave that part to the chairperson who will welcome them in his speech. Please, let all of us feel at home. This is our home. Thank you very much.
He is currently the chairperson of the Institute of Real Property Valuers, He is also a real estate consultant and owns his own company, which is M&J Associates. He's also been a lecturer at the University of Rwanda, which I presume he might be still there as well. He's still into the academics, and he's currently pursuing, soon to be, a PhD graduate. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome the chairperson of IRPV. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all at this important occasion where we gather to celebrate 15 years of progress, professionalism, and partnership within the Valuation fraternity in Rwanda. This day marks not only a milestone in the journey of the Institute of Real Property Valuation in Rwanda, but also a moment of collective reflection on how far we have come and where we are heading as a profession dedicated to excellence and national development. 15 years ago, the Institute of Real Property Valuers was established with a bold vision, which is to professionalize property valuation practice in Rwanda. Before the enactment of the law establishing the institution, of course, valuers existed. We had the practitioners assisting in various institutions, but there was no an organization, there were no standards. So that was a challenge, and which we have been trying to address the past 15 years. Today, as we look back on the remarkable journey, we can take pride in how much we have achieved together as valuers and together with our partners. Over the years, IRPV has evolved from a small group of passionate professionals, like I said, who used to be licensed by the Central Bank of Rwanda, into a strong and reputable national institution that we have today. We have made significant strides in professional certification. We have come from a number of around 40 in 2010 to more than 260 valuers today. Our achievements, I can say, are many. We have fostered a culture of professional integrity, which we still continue to build. We have enhanced technical competencies among valuers through the various trainings that we offer every year, and built an inclusive community that continues to attract young talent. Every year we admit new valuers who graduate from the various universities that train valuers here in the country. We have strengthened our institutional presence and the trust of key stakeholders across government, academia, and the private sector. Yes, as we celebrate these accomplishments, we also recognize that the journey ahead presents new challenges. The valuation profession must continually evolve to respond to emerging realities, urbanization pressure, digital transformation, environmental sustainability, and market volatility. We must prepare ourselves to meet these challenges with innovation, collaboration, and unwavering professionalism. So to this end, IRPV has developed a 5-year strategic plan, 2026-2030, which sets a clear roadmap for our collective growth and transformation. This plan focuses on strengthening institutional capacity, embracing technology. As you know, technology is evolving every day. We are now in the AI era. So how do we embrace new technologies as valuers to advance our our practice. Deepening policy engagement to engage in different policy discussions and promoting regional and international cooperation. This conference marks the beginning of the 5-year journey that we have already set and adopted, a journey that calls upon each of us to contribute ideas, energy, and expertise to the National Land Authority. These are our great partners. As valuers, you know that we base our opinions and to justify the decisions or that we report in our valuation reports, we base on the information from the National Land Information Systems. Without that database, it would have been very difficult for us to do our valuations accurately. So we appreciate the Director General for giving us access to this national database of the land information in the whole country. We also appreciate the Central Bank, which is the regulator of the financial institutions. Our key partners are financial institutions. Recently, the National Bank of Rwanda conducted a study on loan recovery, which highlighted some of the issues and where we have a stake as valuers, and together we have been charting a way to address these challenges. And in the discussions we are going to have today, we'll also center on that issue of loan recovery versus the valuations that we do. We also appreciate the academic institutions, the University of Rwanda, Ines Ruhengeri, they are our key partners. They train valuers, but also we have a framework of collaboration with them in our activities as the institution. Particularly, I would like to acknowledge the financial support from Ines Ruhengeri. Ines Ruhengeri, they have supported the gala dinner that we shall have after this conference. We have also established frameworks with, apart from the University of Rwanda, Ines Ruhengeri, we have a framework of collaboration with the National Authority, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, the Higher Education Council, and the Academy of Construction and Real Estate, which is represented by Mr. Mashilo, who is here together with us. And through these collaborations, we aim to advance education, research, and innovation in the field of property valuation, ensuring that the next generation of valuers is well equipped for tomorrow's demands. Allow me to express our special appreciation to our international delegates who have come to celebrate with us this 15-year journey. In our midst, we are together with Dr. Kunuli Awolaja, who is the immediate past president of the African Real Estate Society. Dr. Awolaja is coming from Nigeria. As I said, we are also together with Mr. Mashilo, who is the CEO of the the Academy of Construction and Real Estate. Mr. Mashilo, thank you for coming. Mr. Mashilo is coming from South Africa. We have also, you will excuse me, I don't have the names here. We have a delegate from the Institution of Surveyors of Uganda. Let's welcome him. And we have also another important guest from Zimbabwe, but who is based in the Middle East. We are happy to have you, sir. Thank you very much. As we embark on this next chapter from today, Let us remember that our collective strength lies not only in our technical expertise, but also in our unity, ethical conduct, and shared purpose. Let's remain united and remain ethical in what we do. Together, let us build upon the strong foundation laid over the past 15 years to advance the evaluation profession that contributes to sustainable development, economic resilience, and the broader vision of our nation. May this conference be a space for inspiration, knowledge sharing, and renewed commitment to the ideals that define our profession.
And I'm always, maybe I'll through John, because John is our East African chapter chair, with Bonaventure. Bonaventure, meanwhile, has really done so well for us in AFRES, because we had this AFRES Francophone project, which started about 15, 20 years ago, and it has always been on paper. Until Bonaventure came up as the chair of the Francophone project, we were able to, go around the curve, and by May 30th of this year, that was just about 6 months ago, if I'm right, 6 months ago, we were able to launch the Francophone project in Dakar, Senegal. It means we have, like Bonaventure said, 50% coverage of African countries. Because here in West Africa, for example, out of the 16 ECOWAS countries, 11 are Francophone countries. 11. One is Portuguese speaking, and that means we're going to cover the whole of Africa very, very soon. So, and this is what came up through Engineer Valua Bonaventure. I think can you stand up for recognition? I want to do that. I'm the immediate past president, but I'm
the Director General of Natural Resources Authority, and she is also the chairperson of Council for Regulation of the Real Property Valuation Profession in Rwanda. Yes, this is Mrs. Marie-Grace Nishimwe.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to be here today on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Environment, who conveys warm greetings and sincere wishes for a successful conference. The Ministry recognizes the significance of this milestone gathering as we celebrate 15 years of the Institute of Real Property Valuers in Rwanda and reflect on the remarkable evolution of valuation practice in our country. Allow me to begin by commending IRPV for its dedication to strengthening professionalism, integrity, and technical excellence within the valuation sector. While the work of valuers may not always be visible to the public, it is foundational to nearly every major decision that shapes our cities, support our economy, and safeguard our environment. The theme of this event, Valuation in Rwanda, 15 years of building professionalism, reflects not only pride in the progress achieved, but also a shared vision for a continued excellence, innovation, and ethical practice as we advance profession into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Rwanda is pursuing an ambitious sustainable development agenda. We are building greener cities, upgrading informal settlements, developing modern infrastructure, and promoting climate-resilient land use systems. None of these efforts can succeed without accurate, credible, and fair valuation of land and property. Valuers play an essential role in ensuring fairness and transparency during land acquisition, strengthening confidence in real estate market, informing financial sector and investment decision, and guiding responsible and sustainable urban and rural development. As we look ahead, your role becomes even more critical in 3 key areas. First, there is fair and just compensation for public interest projects. As strategic national projects expand, valuation must continue to uphold fairness and equity. Fair compensation builds public trust, minimizes disputes, and ensures that development benefits are shared. Second, strengthening land market for economic transformation. Accurate valuation increases investor confidence, supports mortgage and financial systems, and ensures well-regulated land transactions. These functions are vital to accelerating Rwanda's economic growth and transformation. Third, advancing sustainable and climate-resilient development. In a rapidly changing climate, valuation must evolve to reflect environment and social factors. As Rwanda integrates climate resilience into planning, valuers must continue building new knowledge and skills to meet international standards and emerging demands. Ladies and gentlemen, National Land Authority, under the guidance of the Ministry of Environment, remains committed to working closely with IRPV and the entire family valuation fraternity. In recent years, we have strengthened land governance systems, digitized land services, modernized land records, and enhanced regulatory frameworks, all of which provide a strong foundation for professional and reliable valuation. We also applaud IRPV for the development of a 5-year strategic plan which demonstrates leadership and commitment to research, innovation, and global standards. To our academic and training partners, we appreciate your vital role in preparing the next generation of valuation professionals. Your work ensures sustained capacity and excellence in the sector. Dear valuers, this conference is not only a celebration. It is a moment for reflection and renewal. I encourage you to use this platform to exchange ideas, strengthen collaboration, and reinforce a shared commitment to ethical, transparent, and impactful valuation practice in Rwanda. On behalf of the Honorable Minister of Environment, I congratulate IRPV on this important milestone and reaffirm our continued partnership in advancing this profession for national development. With these remarks, and in the name of the Honorable Minister of Environment, I hereby declare the IRPV Annual Valuation Conference 2025 officially open. I wish you productive deliberation and continued success. Murakoze cyane.
Because we have noted many gaps in the law which hamper the profession itself, and in collaboration with all of those institutions, we are leading the process of revising this law, which is into force from 2010. Secondly, when you were watching this video, the chairperson talked about brokers, and those brokers are somehow invading our profession, and we are trying to regulate them through a law and in partnership with the institution of real property valuers and the National Land Authority. We are trying to put in place a law regulating those brokers. We know that they have a big role in the land market, but also we have to regulate them to work professionally. And then we have started the development of a system which can capture the sales price values. I mean, it's a system which covers the values of all parcels that we have in Rwanda is registered, and then from the real valuation, from those data, the real valuation can be done by a property valuer using other methodologies to have the right value of the property. And we have started collaborating with Marriot is a land registration authority from Sweden, reminding you that, or informing you that we have a MOU of collaboration with it, of partnership, and we are partnering with that land registration authority to develop the system that can have the sale price on a sale property. And then from that database of sale properties, property valuer can refer to them to easily have the land value and the other properties incorporated thereon. This data collection will also be easily to be integrated in our land administration system, and in partnership with IRPV, that will be facilitating the data collection, and this is not going to not allow valuers to do their profession. This is the data to help them to do better their profession.
Today, we are going to have experts that will take us through the journey of valuation for the last 15 years. They are going to inform us the achievements, the challenges that we have gone through, and the way forward. Without much ado, allow me to invite the chairman of the board of directors, Mr. John Mugisha. Please, a big round of applause for him. Thank you. I imagine I had to do it. Who have we been since then until now? Thank you so much.
It implies that the very few practitioners that were licensed by the central bank had distributed their licenses to other people, and those people had also given to other people. So it was working like that. The valuations couldn't be reliable to a high extent, like expressed by the former governor of the central bank. The banks were making very huge losses. He mentioned 40% of the loans, because the banks relying on those valuations that were done in a chain based on one license the banks could not get the money on auction, and they were making losses at 40%. So the establishment of IRPV in 2010, the mission was to standardize the practice, to bring in people who have studied valuation, and also to keep building the capacity and to put the standards in place and regulate the practice. The central bank was giving licenses, but it was very difficult for the central bank to regulate on a daily basis to follow up on the valuers with the licenses. So since 2010, when we started as professionals established by law, or an institution established by law, we started to put some laws in place, of course, based on the law that was published by then. We had the internal rules and regulations. These were guiding how we should ethically behave, what we should do, and what we should not do. So we also have developed our internal procedures, how we should operate administratively, and also we had a disciplinary code of conduct. So that if we go astray, the valuation standards and ethics, we could collect ourselves so that we don't repeat that again. We also realized that while we have certified valuers, there are other individuals who used to work at the same manner before 2010, continued to work that way. And some of the certified valuers actually enable them, because we are the ones who give them that opportunity. If we say no, we want to do our profession in a standard way, in a professional way, that thing can stop. So what we are doing today is that we are developing the standards and guidelines to help the valuers to have a harmonized practice, but also to eliminate those people who are tarnishing our noble profession. So that's what we are doing today, and I can say that the system we have developed, the agent system, where we register all valuations that are done, has helped us a lot as individual valuers, but also as an institution. I'm happy to say today that we report around 60,000 valuation reports in our agent system in a year. So that's a big number, and it continues to grow.
Aspects where we may have corruption. So would you kind of elaborate, what can we do? What can be done to prevent corruption? Thank you very much.
Or some, they do it just because of they are not honest, but others due to corruption. But what they do not understand is that they are putting in danger the economy of the country, because once there is need for the bank to auction the property, the price is low, and the loan the client got is not appropriate to the property. So that person is going to be in debt forever, because from that time on, the person cannot invest in the country, because each investment or each asset will be taken by the bank to recover the loan. So this is something I think the institute should take into consideration to emphasize on the ethic, the code of ethic, and but also discipline measures. Now that the institute has been building itself for the past 15 years, and I think even the chairperson has stated it just now that there is some evaluators who could give their permit to other people. So this is something I think the institute should really work on. But also on the other hand is if evaluator, does not fulfill his or her duties properly,
do the citizen know where to report the person? We know, I think, for now, citizens are aware of the Rwanda Bar Association, and if a lawyer, misbehaves, they can go and report. But how about the institute? I think it's not really known in the community, and there should be more, awareness so that citizens know where to report such evaluators. But also, this information, I'm not sure if it's not me who is not aware. I can assume that there is a list, publicly the list of evaluators, whereby citizens can consult it so that they don't get conned by fake evaluators. Yeah, thank you.
I do not want to pronounce your name the way it's not, so I will have to read first. Mr. Mashido, she mentioned about awareness of this profession to the public. We have an instance where some of the insurance companies do not use valuers. Some people do not know how to use valuers and when. Back home, with rivers back home. How best do you think the institute can make awareness of this profession? Thank you very much.
So before you can ask somebody to trust you or talk about awareness, you have to start by saying, what trust am I creating in society first? Because if you have not created trust, no matter how much PR that you will do, it won't work, because people will still not come to you if they face a problem. So, and then I'll bring home the practical example. So, valuation is a confidence builder. It is a confidence builder. There's a direct correlation between the level of investment in any country, whether at an FDI level or at an individual level, when somebody buys a home, and the quality of the valuers that are in the system. Because when the confidence is there, they'll start then asking the question that says, if a valuer has got something wrong, how do I report it? Because they will ask the question because you have built the confidence. The same applies is that if you look at the ethical level, and I think the chairperson, John, mentioned it in his welcome speech, opening speech, to say ethics. And normally we talk about ethics at a very theoretical level, because whenever we write some exam about ethics and it lies there. But what we forget is that transparency matters. So one of the biggest challenges, not only here but on the continent, is that we don't share enough across ourselves. So I do evaluation, somebody does evaluation. I believe mine is the best, so I hide the information.
We need to find a way to work with them to meet their needs, but also by also protecting our profession, because majority of banks are more directed with performance. We know that, so they want to just give money to the clients, but they want to base a decision on our evaluation reports, on our analysis. So in order then to work with them, we need to see both sides, because they are clients, but also have a profession to protect. As colleagues just said, valuation is built on trust, is built on confidence in what you are bringing on the table. So I will just answer this question that way. First of all, we need to collaborate with them. As a government institution, first of all, we need to enhance by bringing in standard of practice, so that everyone knows this is how these things are being done. And But if we break standard only without a way of enforcing them, that will be also a big challenge. So banks have to help us to implement or to enforce those standards. When the standards are there, that banks are not reporting the malpractice of valuers, so that will be a challenge. So first of all, government institutions need to bring in standard, and in order to enforce them, banks need to report those valuers who are not following them, or those low quality valuation reports which are not meeting the standard in place. I think that's the first thing. The other thing is creating a route of a clear route of reporting those malpractices. Like one of the colleagues here on the panel said, there is no clear route where banks can report or any other client can report their malpractices. So if they are not there, then it's a big challenge. So we need to come up with a way that people are reporting those valuers who are not doing the NS standard. As the chairperson said, we are now in a way of making the valuation standard. I think the process started already. So it means like in the future that we are in the right way, we are on the right track to be there. Another thing is, apart from standard, we can also, because valuation is based on data, without proper data, without access to market data, so you cannot do a good valuation report. So we know that even institutions, those banks, they have data that can serve valuers. Like they see valuation as a business. If they see valuation as a business, if they are going to give someone a loan, I think I'm truly confident that they ask data about how the property is performing, the taxation about the property, all the information that this property, the income that the property is making. They analyze all this before they give someone a loan if it's a property for business. So if we enhance data sharing between banks and valuers or even government institutions, so that we have a central system where all these property related data are recorded, this is going to help us in the future to be able to work together and to have like a trustable system that everyone can trust to get the data and based on his valuation. In that way, then the malpractice, where there is a big difference between what a value has been, the value that I produced and my colleague produced. So if we have the same data that we base on our valuations, it's going to build trust, because the differences are going to be very low. We have the same way of doing things. Another thing is clear dispute, because we put in place clear dispute channels. Like as an institution and regulatory body, in government, when you see the practice that we have today, we don't have this clear dispute between clients and valuers. So if we put on this channel where any dispute that may rise may be reported in a clear way and to find a solution. So I think this is going also to help to build trust in our clients and the practice of valuation for bank purposes. Again, something that I may say, we don't do audit. There's no auditing of what valuers are doing. So if we work together with banks and set procedures to do those annual auditing of what is happening, where challenges are. In that way, then we can analyze them and coming up with measures to fix any problem or any challenge that may lie in the practice.
Mr. Chairman, Rwanda is a hub of so many things in the region today. Hub of innovation, hub of IT and information technology, so many things. Would you kindly tell us, in your opinion, how can Rwanda be a hub of valuation in the region, in East Africa or Africa? What can we do to be a hub of that profession? Thank you so much.
Every parcel of land in Rwanda is registered. So the issues of title search have been made easy here in our country. So you won't have an issue of inspecting a wrong property. So you are 100% sure that the property I'm inspecting is the real property of the owner who claims to be the property owner. So that is a very big infrastructure that we have. Most countries do not have that yet. They have registered land in urban areas, those who have already started. But having a countrywide land registered, I think, is a unique asset that we have that we need to leverage. Another thing is the political will in our country. We are fully supported. If I can take an example from this event here, you have seen that we have different leaders from different institutions of the government. So they support what we do. We have frameworks of collaboration. We have a framework of collaboration with the National Land Authority. We already have a good working environment with the Ministry of Environment and other ministries, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning and the Central Bank, like I mentioned. So these environments is what we need. So what is missing is, are we taking advantage of that has been provided to us, or some way by some of us, they are being abused. So let's be responsible in what we do. Let's keep building our capacity. We keep learning, because learning is, when you stop learning, you stop to exist or being purposeful in life. So let's keep learning. We learn from each other, and we support each other, and we love the profession we are doing. Let's not see it as something where we get money, but something where we serve a purpose. Thank you.
15 years. The country has a vision of 2050. Let's look at 2050 as values. Mr. Eve, what vision do you have for 15 years to come? What do you see these values? Today we are 250. What's your vision as a valuer and that is working with the Ministry of Land? What's your vision with the valuation profession?
This profession, even the speakers that have been talking before me, they mentioned something that is called data collection. So I see this profession in the future being data-driven and digitalization of it. Like I see it as all the initiative that we have now, as the chairperson was saying, we have all the data about properties. We have all the information regarding properties that we value. And we collect even information regarding the property that are being sold on the market. So all this information, and by looking them with existing systems in the nation, like the building permitting system, linking it with other existing systems that we have, like Lembo, like all this, if we connect them, like even in the system, it has so much information regarding properties. But what we are missing now is just doing integration of all these data and have it in the same place so that the valuers can base them, can use them in their daily activities. So let's say that I see us going to more valuation, which is more data based, which is what I mean is evidence-based valuation, because data are there and we are putting efforts to bring all these data together and go forward. Again, when I say that, I see as playing a big role in the economy of the country. As you know, valuation is very important in property taxation. I see us basing on those data that I was saying, building a mass valuation or computer system, mass valuation system, because there are all these things that we can do, that we can base on to build it. So I see us having a calm evaluation system in place, helping our Rwanda Revenue Authority to raise funds or government funds and taxing on good property, based on what we do. As well also as an institution, going forward with capacity development, like continuous professional development courses, bringing in even AI in what we do, because AI is now advancing, as you know. So then, when we bring it in, so it will be help us in service delivery and go paperless. That's where our country is going. Again, as DG said, we need also to bring DG, my boss, as I say, we need also to bring in our role as a valuer. I see us playing a big role in urban development of our country and helping people advancing in businesses, because when you do evaluation, someone is given capital to start a business, you are contributing to the economy development of the country. So I see us playing a big role in government initiatives that are ongoing, like urban resilience, urban management, and playing a critical role in smart economy development of the country. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mashilo and Mama Colette. Mr. Mashilo, you come from a country that I personally love, South Africa, which is in as a big devolved country in this continent. Would you kindly share us with what can we take home as young, I believe we are young valuers in compared to your country. What should we take home? What should we do to move forward? Thank you so much.
In relation to our view, is that what we have done in 10 years, there are many other countries in the valuation space that they've tried, they have not been able to do. For example, the recognition and the establishment of valuation as a profession on the continent. Zambia is far bigger than we, but they've only managed to do it in 2019. Namibia has only managed to do it in 2022. Right? They may have existed way, they may have been bigger, but they have not achieved what we have achieved. And I think that deserves another round of applause, because I think it's a big achievement that we take over. It's not a small feat. I think I needed to make that point over and above what John has said. That for 15 years, that's and it's a very grateful thing. And let me go to your question, because I felt I need to make that point. Being here is not a small thing, it's a mean feat that you guys have achieved in such a small, including the numbers.
Thank you so much.
Just to answer your question, I think, look, valuation was recognized as a profession way before the 1994, but it was properly legislated in 2000. Between us and Nigeria, I think then Ghana, we probably have the biggest population of valuers. We've got about just close to 3,000. I think Nigeria was just about 5,000 or just below 5,000. Right? Around 8,000. And Ghana is half of that. Right? And it's always really a function of our size of the country, in terms of population, in terms of the professions, and the time that we've got. And I think that you will get there. The three most important things that I need to leave with you, actually. And as part of our press, and then I know Bonaventure and those guys that follow our press, there's a project called African Value. And what that project wants to achieve is these three important things. The first one is what we call professional mobility and mutual recognition. That as I drove into this town, there was a KFC, and then I came from Nairobi, I was doing another conference there in Mombasa, there's a KFC there. And I'm sure South Africa there's a KFC in Nigeria. But that KFC, I can tell you now, when they require evaluation, they are faced with three different standards and approaches and stories. And part of the relationship that the Academy has with IRPV is what if I borrow the words of one of the representatives of IRPV on that committee. There's a committee that does the Africa Valuation Conference. Was that we need to harmonize standards across. So the journey of African Value was started in 1996. And we took it up as the second generation to say the first generation might have come up with an idea, us as the second generation of valuers. Compared to the people that came there very young. How do we activate that? It's the same thing, that example that was made by Francophone that Bonaventure championed. Although it came in 19 years ago, when he arrived, he said, how do I activate this thing? And we are doing the same with valuation by creating the African Valuation Conference, which is headed by about 16 organizations that are in IRPV Rwanda. So for young people, my message is, as I've given you the statistics, and that's why I started with saying there's 16 organizations in 16 countries, is you need to be able to say, in the valuation space, as a growing profession, what is the thing that I want us to champion? Choose your battle and champion that battle, because that battle then allows us to grow the profession. Each of us has got a battle that we have chosen, and then there are many that are still there, and part of it is working across countries, working across regions to be able to do that. That will be my message. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It should be known that
Indeed, IRPV has zero tolerance for corruption. Thank you so much. A big round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us.
Pillars on digital transformation, pillars on building a resilient and broader financial sector. All these rely on real property valuation and professional performance. When you talk of digital transformation, I guess real property valuers that are here in the room are aware of improvements that have been made when the IRPV started using the integrated system, where we are able to confirm and verify genuine valuation reports versus forged reports that we used to receive, at least in our practice, at the Office of the Registrar General when we are registering collaterals or during the foreclosure process that I have. I cannot conclude without suggesting some proposals for a way forward in order to lay foundations of trust, competence, and collaboration among key players in the sector that I have mentioned above. There is need to promote joint data sharing protocols between different players that I have mentioned. There is need to invest in continuous professional development. I know this is happening, but again, there is room for improvement. And there is need to enhance collaboration among different professional bodies that
come into play, as I have mentioned earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, with these few remarks, I want to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Richard. I want to start by posing some questions to my panelists so that we can hear about their take on what we experience as valuers and the product market. I've structured my question into 3 pairs. One is valuation practice, which is around accuracy, standards, and evolving methods. Another pillar is ecosystem interplay, how valuers, developers, financials, regulators, and buyers influence outcomes. And then the last one is stakeholder engagement, where it revolves around transparency, collaboration, and accountability. Now, on valuation standards, I pose the question to Mr. Fred Rwanda, who is a seasoned valuer and who has been in built environment for quite some time. How do we ensure consistency and credibility in property valuation across our markets?
But the international value standards automatically has plenty what are supposed to do A, B, C, D. But it matters the person who is carrying out the valuation in the situation and the circumstances carrying out the situation. And this is where it becomes interesting. I'm not going on the other side. I don't want to say it is interesting in the sense that you need to be an expert to be a valuer. That means you have all the necessary information and data to come up there right. I'm not going to talk about value. At times you are looking for worth, at times you are looking for value, at times you are looking for cost. So it depends for the purpose of the valuation. But in brief, because of the time we have, cannot allow us to go in details. I think the first thing, before you become a valuer, you have to understand what is your scope. What is expected out of me? How am I going to be an expert? Because this is what creates the relationship with the others, with your clients. Because somebody calls you when he expects to do what he cannot do. So when you have that confidence, but of which I'm happy also to be talking about ecosystem, because we are dealing with many other independent individuals or organizations. For example, I said it well, the land registrar. There are many factors that affect cost or whatever, or value worth. We have regulators, we have developers, but this is the good thing that if you are in many capacities, it becomes easy. Whatever, I mean, to bring all this information together, they come up with the right valuation. So, as I wind up, because it is very broad, I may not say what is internal, what is important first and foremost is understanding, it's a mindset. And then it is understanding your profession and knowing how am I going to write to the right report that I can stand and defend it. Do I have all the information I need? How do I get this information back to the standards, to the standards of valuation? When you make a report, it should be easily interpretable by anybody who is not a valuer, because it is very important. This important times can be a negotiating document with the others. So valuation in the form of, as the question arises, I may not have said it all, but you start understanding what valuation is. It's unique, not like any other profession. I'm an engineer. I'm a valuer, I understand the difference. Doing engineering is very simple. I look at the principles, what I've been taught, I interpret, and do valuation. I need data. I need regulations. I need laws and taxations. I need the future prospects of the property you're valuing. So there are many factors you put up to come up with the right value. Thank you.
Valuers face in maintaining independence under market and client pressures. I'm asking it to Charles because my Charles is not a valuer, but he leads valuers in his space. Thank you.
So, the purpose for which evaluation is done, and Fred hinted on this, is extremely important when we are having these conversations. I was speaking to Seth from the Ministry of Environment earlier, and we are involved in doing a large land acquisition in Ngororero for a farming project. Now, Philbert here is the one who did for us that valuation. But we are a private international farm, FARM, going to do probably the largest coffee plantation entirely vertically integrated in Rwanda. So we need the land to come as cheaply as possible. We're expecting to get the land for free. Then Philbert comes and says the land is expensive. But we need Philbert's value to sign the concession agreement with the government of Rwanda. Right? So then that dilemma, I have to pay Philbert to tell me, to give me information that I don't want to hear. So, can I influence Philbert to have his coffee stronger, or is not less detailed, as he was putting it? Huge dilemma. I was having a conversation with Tigre, sitting next to me right there. So we're doing a property transaction in Nyarutarama, and the valuation comes at a price at a way lower value than the expected sale price of the owner of the property. Then, but it is a commercial building that earns rent. And I'm coming to you, RBB. One of the reasons why the rent is low in that building is because these guys at RDB stopped licensing casinos. Yes. Because for the last 2-3 years, these guys have frozen licensing of casinos. So, do you see how there are other external factors that might influence it? Then, in Nyarutarama, there are different, and I'm talking about zoning as another factor. In Nyarutarama, if you look at that street, I think it's KG 7 or 9, if it's not to be corrected, from RDB, the former RDB, all the way through MTN, yeah, KG 9, thank you. If you're able to do as many floors as 15, you can be able to sell your land at $1,000 a square meter. One of the valuers in the room were doing a transaction for a regional bank, and the valuation came in at $400 a square meter. And probably indeed, if you look at market comparables, they were right. But the purpose for which we intended to transact on that particular land, the price of land did not really matter to us. So, and I can give a few examples until the cows come home. But I think it's very, very important, and Fred hinted on this, for every valuer to be able to have all-round skills. These may include design, financial analysis, zoning guidelines,
if you look at what is happening today with MICE, tourism, and the different asset classes that are being born, the fact that you may have Remera, the sports city today, if you just look at the values of land around the stadium purely from what market transactions are being done, and you don't consider the dream of the government of Rwanda to have that as a sports city, then you may miss out on the bigger picture. So in conclusion, I think I'm very lucky that I'm not a valuer, because that requires sometimes to be a magician.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you so much for those insightful. You see, my questions are, the valuation is, as Fred was saying, it's you need to have that skill. But naturally, everyone is a valuer. If my mother goes to the market and they give you 3 tomatoes for 20,000, she will not allow. She can allocate a value to a certain item. So she's a valuer naturally. But you require a certain level of skills and understanding. Now, my question goes to Mr. Andrew. How do we build trust among stakeholders when valuation outcome differ from expectation? Just the same as what Charlie was saying, but we want more beef on the...
Yeah. To make sure that he doesn't get cheap land, actually. So thank you very much for inviting me. As I said, stakeholders, let me first map out who are likely to be the stakeholders, or who are the stakeholders in your industry. So valuations are very important in the administration of justice, and this is where I want to come in as a social justice practitioner and someone who heads an organization that works on human rights and access to justice. Actually, we are now working on business and human rights, and this area of land governance is something we're targeting because we know it's very important, but a lot is also happening, and we want to come in with the human rights lens. But your work is very important in the administration of justice, particularly in cases involving property disputes. And I'm glad I sit on the Court Annex Mediation Committee, and Fred, when we were designing the ADR Center, where we want land disputes, including other disputes, can be resolved amicably, Fred was very gracious. He offered to design how that center would be for free, pro bono, and the center is now running. And one of the things I'll be talking about as a challenge is the kind of report that Fred produced the committee chaired by the former Chief Justice. Even if all the years I've been to school, graduate and postgraduate, I couldn't understand the language Fred was using. Something mentioned, your reports, they are really very professional. They include a lot of data, some of which our Muzikorera, he was a soul. Our tourist, I mean. He can read those reports. And I think we, 2 years ago, we were Bonaventure. These nice reports, professionally written, when our people, illiterate people, cannot read them and understand, this is not fair. And that's a problem. But here I want to highlight Akamaro, reports. I want to highlight the importance of valuation reports when it comes to disputes resolution, auction irregularities, succession, co-ownership, and management of property. Banze kuba report, ariko abaturage nabo bari bazi ubwenge. Bari barabwiwe bagiye gukora bakoresha valuations zabo. What is happening today, nuko imanza za mbere 10 zimaze gusoma n'urukiko, umujyi watsinzwe. So noneho twabaza abanyamategeko b'umujyi tuburana bavuga ni leta, nta kibazo leta n'igitsindwa, tuzajurira, tuzabarerega bimara imyaka 3 5 n'abaganga batangiye gusaba ya mazu. So rero akazi kanyu bivuga mu Kinyarwanda karakomeye. But I want you to sit and imagine your role in conflict management. Conflict, there is a lot of land disputes. Kandi iyo hajemo uko kutumvikana mwebwe twirukanyiraho mwebwe duhungiraho kugira ngo muba bakemurampaka mu gaciro k'ubutaka cyangwa kubutaka butsimutana. So I really don't know much about, I know hari umuntu twigeze kubaza muri Sommet twababajije since management and big or transparency governance, but I think you should see yourself as a key player in the justice sector. There's one it was to get over break at and even lawyers can be evaluators. So property law is one of the biggest when we're talking a new Mugawa Guturuza. Ariko deja rabizi tuwande yanuza nini cyane y'amapaje magana ngaya. So it's one of the most complicated. So to take it as a group, wenda if you can blend amategeko muri profession yanyu byatworohereza. So thank you. Ikibazo alikumbaza byose na cyane. But thank you very much for this opportunity. I think you are good partners. Ariko tugize kuvuga na Bonaventure kijyanye n'abantu bakennye korete yigeze kuvuga transparency. Badashobora kwafodinga ku bantu basanzwe mushobora kuba mudahenda cyane ariko ku baturage mushobora kuba muhenda. So kimwe nk'abahesha b'inkiko b'umwuga nubwo batugoye cyane nabo bafite kubapfobya n'ubundi bw'ibodi yabo ariko I think we can work with you kugira ngo njye mutanga propono ku bantu batishoboye kuri za valuation kugira ngo of course dushyigikiye iterambere ayibana ntanyumve nabi ariko dufite ikibazo cy'uko like the current master plan y'umujyi wa Kigali n'izindi deje grâce sinzira twarize kubivuga nawe ariko public interest has been considered to be one of the reasons for expropriation. Aho twe twishyira tukibaza as social justice practitioners umuntu ugiye kubaka shopping mall na hano akaza kimura abantu umuntu agiye kubaka shopping mall. A shopping mall is not in the public interest, it's business. Abantu bihishima expropriation mukaza mukavana abaturage aho bari ngo is for public interest kubera kagiye kubaka aho navuze haba yavuze unabiye bayikoze ariko bo bari barimo barabimura neza my friend we are foreign bari barabimura abaho barimo barabimura neza abandi barimo barabimura n'abaturage bwimure neza aya makuru turafite abaturage baba bafite nari mfite inama unyemere niba nta ibibazo uri bumaze nta kintu nagenda
by naturally a valuer. Sometimes for us when we are having discussions on the issues of real property valuation during the recovery process, we tend to remove the real property, the valuation report. Because if you go to a land agents, we know them as our commissioner, they would look at a building or a land and they give you the value. But when it comes to professionals, maybe because of different factors, etc., you go to Philbert, you get this report, you go to him, you get a totally different report. So how do we minimize these discrepancies to avoid, to prevent even these disputes from occurring, to prevent having different values depending on who is commissioning the valuation and who is conducting the valuation or for what purpose is the valuation being conducted. Allow me to give one more case. We usually to have, the law says if you don't agree with the valuation, you proceed with the counter valuation. If you're not happy, you go to court. But we've had cases where you would have a difference of 1,000 francs and people would proceed with the court. Why? For us, we come in when you want to, let's say a financial institution wants you to sell someone's property because they have not paid the loan granted. And this is being used as a ground because the person doesn't want to pay. He's challenging the valuation. Look, he came up with this report, I proceeded with another one, and there is a difference of 1,000 francs. I'm not happy with it, I'm proceeding to the court, so that as the court proceeding is ongoing, I'm having some breathing space to frustrate the loan recovery. So how do we come up with, for example, a law that says if there is this margin, there should be no issue? Because from what I have heard, we cannot have an accurate and exactly, yes. Thank you very much.
Philbert, can I just say something very small?
Professionalism, public trust, contributing significantly to the financial stability and market confidence. From financial stability and market conduct or consumer protection perspective, I want not to come back to the data shared by representative of IRPV, but also I want to emphasize that the real estate valuers plays a significant role in our financial system, mainly because we take their service as a risk mitigant to any loan performance, which means that every loan secured by a property begins by evaluation. It determines whether the collateral truly supports the credit being extended. Again, through the IRPV commitment, Rwanda has built a greater consistency, reliability, and professionalism in this practice. However, despite the progress, we continue to face challenges that can call a common collaboration or collective collaboration. Even if you can see the high default rates, we see limited financial literacy, we see inconsistent valuation practices, which can cause disputes during recovery. You need to understand your techniques so that anyone can understand the valuation. Additionally, valuations increasingly incorporates sustainability, environmental and social factors. Rwanda valuers must align with emerging ESG and climate-related principles that are shaping globally. We do understand that we have green cities. Maybe you need to understand how to evaluate a house with those green standards. National Bank of Rwanda reaffirms its commitment to work closely with IRPV and evaluation community, mainly to strengthen supervisory and regulatory framework, promotes ethics, accountability, and transparency. But also, we urge you to use digital technology and data analytics, and also support professional development and mentorship across the industry. Together we can build evaluation and recovery ecosystem that is credible, innovative, and aligned with Rwanda's vision for a stable and inclusive financial sector. To everyone, valuer and financial professional here today, your work directly shapes the integrity of Rwanda's credit system. Every report you sign contributes to confidence in lending, investment, and financial stability. We do well understand your role. When you look at the data, Richard has shown some data, but when you look, you see some assets that either overvaluated or undervaluated. It means that misrepresentation may lead to lack confidence in the work you are doing. But let's continue to uphold the highest standards of objectivity, transparency, professionalism, ensuring that valuation remains a foundation of trust in our financial system. On behalf of the National Bank of Rwanda, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Institute on the 15 years of excellence and dedicated services. We look forward to continued collaboration to promote sound valuation, effective loan recovery, and a resilient, stable, and financial system for our nation. Thank you so much.
Of Rwanda, that's very important to see what is trending in terms of that type of property as well in the markets. So that's very, very important and crucial as you will be doing. And then banks as well, they require a periodic review or a valuation of that bank, of that property as well. So you need to be involved in that as well or along that lines. And then we've got the marketing period, because every market is every property is its own type of market, and you need to know the marketing period and how long it takes to dispose that property in the event that there is a default in payment. So it's very, very important to provide all the methods of disposing. Is it going to be on the private treating, or is it going to be on auction, and what type of auction is going to be as well. And then the basis of value as well that you are going to provide. Most of the times, based on the, I think my fellow panelists can agree with me, there is Basel III framework, which also looks at how banks can mitigate against the credit risk relating to properties, different types of properties as well. I know Rwanda Central Bank has been implementing that kind of framework since 2018 from the research that I have done. So it's very, very important, because the basis of value is very important. Is it going to be on market value, or is it going to be on liquidation value? So most of the time, banks, they can say provide us market value, so that they really understand the market where that kind of property can be bought and sold. And then they can say, in the event that we are going to dispose it and sell it, the bank, they don't want to stay with that property for a long time. So they want to know how long does it take to dispose it. So auctions, these are forced sale. Yes. Sometimes we call them forced sale. So they want to sell it as soon as they repossess it. They want to dispose it. So the bank will say, if we are to say sell it today, we don't want to stay with this item, how much are we going to recover from that? Yes. So that's when we come up with liquidation in terms of international valuation standards. That's what most of us rely on. There is liquidation, forced liquidation value, right? Where there is a limited period of marketing. So this is what the banks sometimes they want to.
To the introduction of the topic. Mr. Bernard, what mechanisms do you think the Regulatory Council, IRPV, and the financial service providers should put in place to ensure valuations are accurate and reliable to meet the expected outcomes? Thank you. Of course, in relation to loan recovery process. Thank you.
So on the other side, the clients we are serving, I'm saying loan applicants. And the main one was I think you start to use it. How can you embark on digital tool, mainly to avoid an evaluator to discuss with the client. We saw some issues where if someone goes to a property valuer, start ask her which month or how much are you requesting for? And I'm asking myself why a real estate valuer is asking this question. Or someone can ask, I need you to value this house at this amount, which means that the information you are giving to a bank is not really related to the real value of the asset. Imagine when a bank relies on those information and provide a loan to based on the information from a professional valuer. So I think you have done a great job there to avoid those direct communication with bank clients. I think if we continue like that, I think to reduce the information we saw in past 2 years or 5 years, where we saw that at the time of loan request, you see a mortgage is valued at 100 million, but at the auctioning, you see it is half or below half, which means that we start to assess or to question the integrity of the evaluation. So that one, make sure that we can have a tool that may minimize the direct discussion with the clients, but also increase the enforcement, mainly for those who are not complying. I'm not yet going to the website to see if there are some valuers who have been sanctioned because of malpractices, and I think that can give a message to others to maintain that professionalism. Third is also to make sure that how I think the representative of Legal Aid Forum talk about that. How can our clients can understand the content of the report? So which also it is also meaningful, because if you want to support someone in rural area, he has to understand the content of the report.
Second question goes to Engineer Bonaventure. Mr. Bonaventure, from your valuer's perspective and experience, as one of the pioneers of this noble profession, what are some of the common challenges faced by valuers in their role, in the critical role they play in the loan recovery process? So would they expect us to play a critical role, but along the way there must be some challenges that we face?
That makes me to think about a valuer is somebody who will always need to move ahead, but we always need to stop, rethink, re-evaluate himself, introspect, but also look into the environment. Because you need to survive. This is a profession. I said it in my welcome remarks. This is a profession which we are running into a business. But then it is not something in which you will think that every kind of business can be done inside the valuation profession. Now, you will meet somebody who tells you that you guy, I called you because the bank requested for me to come to you, and all they need is your paper just for filing purposes. Actually, this is 10 a.m. that I am calling you, and the board at the bank is sitting at 2 p.m. and they need your report to just file it, and the board decides, because they have agreed to give me 100 million, and they need your document for filing. That's where comes the biggest challenge, because you will get paid, and you need to do your business, your father businesses, or develop a house or something. And one will tell you, I once had an example of a lady that was being expropriated somewhere, and he was referred to me. When I reached her home, this is the words she told me, that you guys, they told me that you are serious, that you can do things right, but then I need that I and you get serious together now on this matter. Because this property of mine is not less than 500 million. Now, talking about your fees, the fee calculation is very easy. It is 1%. So, here we agree, you go draw down a report for 500 million, and then you come, when I'm paid the amount for expropriation, you have your 500, your 5 million. I told her that, no, this is not possible. We have a fee calculation charter, then we have data that we need to use for expropriation. Then I come back to you, I tell you what the fee is, and I tell you what the value is. The answer was very simple. She told me, for me, I don't work with people like that. And I'm sure I will find your colleagues who will come, we agree, and they do the business. And I tend to be sure that she met her expectations, because she never came back to me. Another example is when I went to a bank. A client who came to me, I wrote down a report, I signed it, I submitted it. 24 hours later, I was called by a bank agent who was asking me, we thought earlier that we would work together and achieve something, but unfortunately, I'm seeing that it will not be realizable. I said, what and why? He told me, you guys, this value you gave to this man is far less than what we have agreed with him that we were giving in a loan. So you please send somebody to take back your reports. You put up a proper report which can facilitate our business with the client. Then we will continue and do business together. Otherwise, we don't know where you are going to take us. So, and I was 100% convinced nothing could change from the opinion I had given them. So I told him that you guys, maybe I am becoming a typewriter and you are the valuer. Yourself, you are the valuer and the banker, and myself, I am your typewriter. And maybe this won't work with me, and my business with you will not go on well. That was our last words, and I've never been called again by a client from that bank. So, those are the challenges we have. Issues with getting data, everybody can dig deep and find data. Maybe delay to provide the report. If it was promised for 2 days, maybe you take 1 week, but you can find it. Issues of collaboration. We did it. Igenagachiro that we have today is, at some point, is interacting with the land information portal, and we are getting very good information from there. The expropriation. We have a law that have assigned us to draw down the reference data that are used. We've been doing it, maybe not very perfectly, but it is being done, and we can have testimonies that the issues have been reduced to the minimum. But then our integrity, our standing on the words, our upkeeping of the standards and the professional practice, the best practice that we have. Because when people come here, they appreciate Rwanda for all the achievements.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let me conclude that we need to sustain the appreciation we have about our achievement. We need to sustain it with appreciation of best practice in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Valuation. Why? Mr. Dr. Samuel, in a few minutes you can summarize the answers. Thank you.
Another language. Iki kibazo kirimo ibibazo bibiri kugira ngo twihute reka ngisubize mu ubu buryo. Icya mbere, kubera iki babona hari undervaluation mu gihe cyo guteza cyamunara bakongera bakabaza ngo kuki noneho bagurisha amafaranga make mu cyamunara. Ibisubizo bya mbere ni ibi ngibi. Kuki tubona undervaluation? Icya mbere, abakorerwa valuation kugira ngo hatezwe cyamunara ntabwo bazi ko ari inyungu zabo. Bima uburenganzira bw'agaciro bagakora valuation bagendeye kuri access babonye, bakabona access y'inyuma gusa ntibabone ibiri imbere. Ubwo urumva ni estimation idatanga value y'ukuri cyane iyo baza kubona amakuru akwiriye. Ikindi cya kabiri, akenshi y'abantu bananiwe kwishyura usanga n'inzu itakiri kuri maintenance ya nyayo, bigatuma rero n'ubundi usanga hari something yagiye hasi. Icya gatatu yagisubije Charles Haber, the market value of the property uramutse ugendeye ku byo yinjiza ntabwo ingana na construction cost. Akenshi iyo badusabye gukora valuation for mortgage bareba iki ishobora kugurishwa ku isoko mu gihe gitoya, ni liquidation value, gitandukanye na construction cost. Ariko kuko ufite independence icyo gihe utanga the market value mu gihe cya valuation abenshi ntabwo ari bose batanga valuation bitewe n'ibyifuzo bya banki bikaza guteza ikibazo. Niyo mpamvu burya yindi nayo iteza ikibazo. Kuki noneho ikibazo cyiza iyo bagiye kugurisha? Ndabanza bibutse iki. Kuki habaho cyamunara? Ntabwo ikibazo ari valuation, oya. Ahubwo ikibazo kiri kubiga inguzanyo nabi. Kubera iki? Iyo umuntu yatse loan agiye muri business, igituma cyamunara ibaho nuko aba yahombye, ntabwo ari valuation. Sinzi niba mwabyumvise. Noneho rero yasabye valuation, icyo gihe ukora valuation ugendeye kuki? Kuri market value. Niyo value dutanga ntabwo igenderwaho muri cyamunara, usanga bagiye munsi y'iki yayo. Kubera iki? System cyamunara iberamo itanga ubwo bubasha. Umukiriya arareka inshuro ya mbere karangira, n'iya kabiri, n'iya gatatu. Ku ya gatatu afite uburenganzira bwo gutanga amafaranga ari munsi ya 75% akeguka n'iki? Umutungo. Iyo mpamvu itandukanye n'iki? Na valuation. Indi mpamvu ni iyi ngiyi niyo nababwiye, ni market value. Ugura ari kureba iyi nzu izayinjiriza ngahe. Urumva aragendera kuri rental value, ntabwo aragendera kuri construction cost. Icyo gihe rero atanga amafaranga abona ko azamugarukira, niyo mpamvu ibitera. Murakoze.
Thank you so much.
Support everything that you write on the report with market evidence, with market data. If you don't do that, then it becomes a problem. So like in my case, when I'm doing valuation for collateral purposes or secured lending purposes, first of all, I need to talk to the bank. First, what exactly do you want? How do you want me to report? Because sometimes banks, they say, we want you to give us market value, we want to give us for the sale value. So when I go back, when I'm researching, you should have enough evidence to support your arguments, your values, like what I've said. So you must do a research, because a valuer, it's not a predictor. A valuer, you should be a researcher. You should understand the market. Within the area, the zone that you are working with, how are the values like? If I'm doing valuation of a villa or an apartment, what is determining the value of that apartment? Is it the number of bedrooms? Are there any other facilities that are within? You know, some apartments, it might be 3-bedroom, and it has got about en-suites. Every bedroom is an en-suite. And then there are others with 1 toilet for visitors and 1 en-suite. So all those things you need to study that and see what is driving the value. As long as you don't know what is driving the value, you cannot come up with a forced sale value.
Thank you so much for those clarifications.
You are actually behind him. You are not yourself. So the protection he has should be your more protection again, because you seem to be his assistant. So look for him to secure protected access to the property. And you are fully protected as he is. I've exercised this for more than 5 cases and I never experienced a case. In some cases I was accompanied by policemen or by DASO or those kind of organs. You are fully protected. Thank you.
When there is application, what they need is to give the loan, and they sometimes oblige valuers to bring the highest value of the property so that they can provide the loan. But when it comes to recovery, it's become an issue. As they did not study well, as they did not do the proper analysis during the loan provision, then at the end of the day, when it comes to auction, they think again and decide to see how they can recover their money. Listen to this. The cost of the financing in Rwanda is very high. The minimum by now is 16%, if I remember well. As the cost is high, they already have their money. When they are going to sell the property at the lowest price, for them it is easy. They already have their money, and they are going to recover their money. As they have recovered, they are not asking themselves whether they are going to lose or not. No, what they think is that at whatever price, if we sell the property, we already have their money. But when the community and there is accountability, when you ask them, why are you selling the property at the lowest price, they respond, it is the valuers who have given the low value. And that is not true. Because if you look at the valuation report in the auction system, and you look at the value the society has given to the auction, they are totally different. You give, let's say, 100 million, but the last bidder pay 200,000. It is possible because he was the last one on the last time. Whoever who provided the biggest bid, he recuperates the property. That is the main challenge. In a simple term, they do transfer the risks to the third party, but in a professional way. Thank you.
You can visit the siab.org website. There are some upcoming trainings before close of this year, or you can reach out to me and we go on. You've seen that the lawyers among the panels were giving us very important insights, so we need to get closer to them and we move together. Thank you very much.
Rona.
Based on the discussions that we had, as well as the report I mentioned, there are 3 fundamental gaps and barriers that restrict the full potential of the real property valuation profession. We must see these gaps not as uniquely Rwandan problems, but as common challenges faced by the global profession. The solution, therefore, lies in accelerating our convergence with the international valuation standards, IVS, and embracing best practice models for data integrity and governance. There is no single ISO standard for property valuation. However, the IVS is a separate but widely recognized body of professional standards. The International Valuation Standards are established by the International Valuation Standards Council, and I am very happy to report that IRPV has been a member of this esteemed body since 2017, which makes me all the more comfortable to suggest bridging the gaps that have been discussed to aligning with IVS standards. So as we shall see, addressing the identified gaps and barriers while aligning with the IVS presents IRPV an opportunity to transition from a compliant profession to a leading edge, indispensable one. The first gap is the credibility gap with financial institutions. When the panel that I'll call it the second panel, although it was supposed to be the third panel there was discussing, I noticed that there are other key stakeholders, especially government institutions when it comes to acquisition of land in the public interest. I might not dwell so much on it, but I think the practice or the recommendations on how to bridge the credibility gap with financial institutions apply. There are conflicting pressures and liability issues. The friction between valuers and financial institutions remains the most costly and common gap. It is a gap rooted in conflicting commercial pressures, speed versus due diligence, and a lack of shared risk understanding. We have financial institutions like our common commercial banks, Bank of Kigali, Access Bank, I&M Bank, that need valuations to be timely and cost-effective. I think Engineer Bonaventure Munyabugingo gave us a good picture of how this pressure can be real. However, this commercial pressure often forces valuers to rush due diligence, directly conflicting with the international valuation standards on core principles of competence and objectivity. This disconnect creates risk for the entire financial system. Another credibility gap is unacceptable methodologies. Our panelists kept coming back to the challenge of the valuation approaches that we find ourselves exposed to or using. Internationally, regulators like the European Central Bank's single supervisory mechanism consistently caution against valuation practices that compromise asset security, arguing that loan security must be based on observable market value, reflecting what a buyer would truly pay. Scientific approach aside, I think Haber and I think other colleagues on that panel said something that we all know. When you talk to a real estate broker, they will give you an indication of the market value without punching numbers. I know they have an association, and I think it is in our best interest to leverage that local knowledge and capture it in the form of a database. It will inform our profession better and will interact with other systems that we have, which I'll talk about later. So International Valuation Standard 105 mandates that valuers must maximize the use of observable market information in all approaches, giving preference to the market and income approaches where data permits. Where data permits. We need to create the data. Lately, I have been expanding my knowledge in climate change. And I have come to learn that emerging research is now looking at how to incorporate climate change in property valuation using quantum physics. I think it's imperative to align ourselves with the trend and with the global pressure points, if I may put it that way. I hope that we can engage on this further, and I have a colleague on the board on the council board who is actually a lecturer in an esteemed British university that actually currently carrying out research on this, and she is very willing to talk to us about it. So I did mention it to Professor Samuel, Dr. Samuel, who is also on the council, but I'm also extending this to the IRPV board. I think as part of our continuous professional development, these are topics that we need to start to engage with so that we are not left behind. In terms of covering the credibility gap with financial services, the way forward would be moving from ad hoc arguments to codified partnerships. A market-based method, we will develop the critical data that we need. So the IRPV, in coordination with the National Bank of Rwanda and the Association of Bankers, should formalize guidance that discourages the sole reliance on the cost approach for mortgage security valuations. Except for highly specialized assets, it's possible, like industrial equipment, for example. Another thing is standardized liability. We must standardize engagement contracts to clearly define liability limitations, echoing global professional standards that protect the valuer from being held solely responsible for market risk changes. Again, this is something that came up when we were engaging with the audience and panelists. The third one that I'm also guilty of, but that was, I think, back in 2016, we need to end the averaging practice. IDS 105 is explicit. Where multiple approaches yield divergent values, valuers must not average the results. They must instead perform rigorous analysis to determine which approach provides the most credible and reliable indication of value based on market evidence and clearly document the reconciliation process. This rigor rebuilds credibility. I really want us to individually think about this. In a market that struggles to make its mark in terms of professionalism and credibility of the work we do, the detail is in the processes. The detail is in the processes we choose to take. When I was the chairperson of the Regulatory Council, I was not very exposed to the valuation standards and processes that we were implementing. So I remember when we would get conflicting valuations lodged to the Regulatory Council to resolve. Yeah, there's a procedure, a remedial procedure in case of disgruntled disgruntlements towards valuation done by a valuer. We could appoint a valuer to look into that, and I think almost maybe 7 to 10 times we had to do this. It was about averaging. Averaging is not an approach. So we need to really take time to invest in terms of capacity building and our time, our technical time, to truly develop credible reports. Are you tired? I'm at 50% of my presentation. When I was preparing my keynote, I had added a point on addressing the credibility gap and financial services on a judicial protocol. While I may present the point, although I cancelled it out, I have long since learned, again from the panel discussions, that there is a protocol. But I think, with the background of not having sufficient information, I think the Regulatory Council and IRPV need to collaborate with the Ministry of Justice and judicial bodies to establish a clear protocol for valuation in forced sales. When reliable sales data is scarce, our valuers fall back to the cost approach. While this may satisfy accounting needs, it fails the International Valuation Standard test for secured lending, which requires maximizing the use of observable market data. This methodological gap is solvable only by systemic data infrastructure. Again, this came out when we were talking about the discussion with the banks. And our colleague and gentleman, I'm sorry I did not get your name, but you really articulated it well. Data is an asset. It's a foundation of defensible value. The recently updated IVS 104 now places a specific emphasis on the criticality of data quality and selection. Many jurisdictions are moving towards centralized data platforms to improve market transparency while protecting confidential client information. Now, IRPV and partners should consider implementing a standardized valuation database, expanding the possibilities of existing systems to include comparable market prices. How? Collaborate with the National Authority and other key stakeholders to establish a market value sales price register / database. This provides a standardized valuation database that builds on common statistical identifiers. In Rwanda, I think for the different systems that we have, our common statistical identifier is the unique parcel identifier, what we call the UPI. It's what helps link LAIS data, Land Administration Information Systems data, Igenagaciro system, the Integrated Electronic Courts Management System, Rwanda Revenue Authority systems, and the banks. I think it's Eve who brought in the factor of banks. Banks have data that they never share. In our quest for improving market values, I think the Rwanda Bankers Association needs to collaborate with IRPV to also produce that data. We are lucky as a country, we have embraced technology for our development. And really, the systems I just mentioned exist. They are digital platforms. I think the National Land Authority has about 150,000 entries on sales prices. The Agent system, we were told every year it lodges about 60,000 valuations. The Building Permit Management Information System has data that it collects that would contribute to this narrative of defining a standardized valuation database. Where it should sit, who should regulate it, I think the ball is in the hands of IRPV. And so exploring this is quite critical, I would say. There are many models that interact with digital platforms. We have what we call large language models. We can use artificial intelligence to generate the valuation rules that Haba was talking about, for example. You know, support Rwanda Revenue Authority. I understand they have come up with a database based on a computer assessment model that was developed with the support of GIZ. But the more data you have, the more credible the data you get. The more credible the data you produce. So I want to believe IRPV, interacting with all of these different data sets that I've talked about, can continue to support this, to produce, at least support a way of getting a credible market value. Another thing that I will add is enhanced report transparency. Again, this came up in the discussions we had earlier. So I think the final report must not just state the value, but clearly disclose all significant assumptions and data inputs used to meet the requirements, the IVS requirements for communication record keeping. This transparency is our best defense against disputes. Every report needs to have a narrative. You know, when the previous panels kept repeating that the reports that we produce are not easy to understand, it's not a good thing. Because usually when you take time to do something, then it's easier to understand. Actually, the marker of a good report is the extent to which it's understood by non-technicians. So either we don't know what we are supposed to do and need to be supported in terms of capacity building, or we have a standard form that we use that maybe needs to be enhanced to at least standardize the quality of reports that we produce. Again, I'm inviting the board of IRPV to look into this, to harness it, so that at least the reports that we produce can be understood by our clients at a minimum. The third gap is the accountability and competence gap. It is the last gap. I was taught that when you're making a presentation, pick 3 important points and go away. If more issues come up, you can respond to them. So this is the third gap. There will be no fourth. This one is internal. The disparity in professional competence for specialized assignments and the weakness of our enforcement mechanisms. So while the majority of valuers are excellent, the complexity of modern assets requires consistent specialized training. Leading professional bodies globally, such as RICS, are moving away from purely reactive complaint systems to proactive assurance models.
The measures is not enough, but also a way to enforce them. I think that goes specifically to our institute and maybe the regulatory council, which are in charge mainly, which are mandated by the law to regulate the profession. Secondly, to put in place a clear channel for reporting the malpractices. We may be our stakeholders or the service consumers, whoever uses our services, may be experiencing some challenges but have no way or do not know a way of reporting them. So having a channel and clear way of reporting the malpractices in our profession was also given as a recommendation. Addition to that, the public needs to know about us. So it's a very huge assignment that we have, me and you, and our institute and the council, to make the profession know. People do not know about us, so they have given a recommendation that raising awareness of the profession to the public is key, so that if I am looking for the valuation service, I should know where exactly I'm getting this from. And someone also mentioned the list of the valuers or the certified valuers to be publicly availed. I think that one is done. We have the list of the valuers published, but I think we still need to do more on raising the awareness to the public about the profession. Then someone also mentioned about the trust, the way that our services should be trusted by the users or the stakeholders. He mentioned that the trust we seek from the public or the users should be built by us, valuers. So it's your assignment now to make sure that whatever you are doing can really be trusted. So it's an assignment to everybody here, especially those in profession, the practitioners, to go and make sure that whatever you are doing in your assignments, in your everyday job you do, is really reflecting the reality and can build that trust that we're seeking from the public. Yes. Someone also mentioned about working together. We cannot work as valuers standing here alone. So we need collaboration from different stakeholders. And also someone recommended having valuation standard and guidelines and put in place a way of following those regulation and standards. All of those, I think our institute are taking some steps toward that, but still we have to work together towards one goal of upholding the high values in our profession to build actually even our reputation as professionals. Someone also mentioned about data sharing. Some institutes have data that another institute does not have, but which can actually help that specific institute in their assignments or whatever they're being involved in. So we need to have to build that connection, that networking, to be able to share data from across whoever may be involved in this field. We need to have that platform that enables to have that data sharing. Someone also mentioned about auditing. Valuers, you go somewhere in a corner, you do something, and you know no one cares. So if we include a kind of auditing may help to know or to find out those malpractices which is actually harming our image outside here. So that one also was recommended, and maybe there should be a way that auditing or such kind of activity can be done. that's the points I have managed to note. I'll give to my colleague to add more. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the points. I may not add so much on what she mentioned, but there are a few points that I also cannot forget. The key takeaway that we took from this conference is that Rwanda, we already achieved a lot, and we have something to build on. We are not building from scratch, so we can leverage what we already have and then continue building professionalism by mainly enhancing integrity and professionalism of IRPV members, by mainly putting in place the way of reporting malpractices and sanction of those who are not practicing according to the standard of the profession. We also have to have cooperation with whether local government institutions or other stakeholders, but also with other international organizations that we share the same profession. Another thing was valuers were very important for the economic development of the country. And to be a valuer, you need to hold high standard of practice. If we need trust have to start with us first, from what we are giving people. Valuation is a profession that is, someone mentioned that it's a profession which is different from other professions. So it requires you to build confidence and make sure that people trust what you are bringing on the table by bringing transparency in what we do and looking beyond the financial benefit that you are going to get from your work, but also seeing beyond, seeing even the impact that what you are going to do is going to cause to your stakeholders or to your clients and to the nation as a whole. So this is a profession, a cross-cutting profession. Someone mentioned that valuers have to learn so many things about laws, about we need to go beyond technical valuation skills. We need also to know, because you consider so many things, you need also to know about financial analysis, about legal and existing laws, zoning, and all other that can affect the property value. So that means, as a valuer, we need to keep updating ourselves with a proper continuous professional development with different partners. So we don't have to go there and sleep and think that the technical skill that we have from school is enough to practice and build that trust that we are looking for. So we need to keep learning. We need to keep with the trend that is in the market to be relevant and competent on the market. Another thing she said about it, our nation is going digital, and there are so many, even Nona was saying about that. Without proper information, without proper data, we are not going to have this standard evaluation practice. We first have to standardize data to see how we collect data in the existing systems and have the way those data can be shared and be useful on our daily basis as valuers.
Again, the guest of honor gave us an assignment to not only look on our technical capabilities only, but we have to think in the vision of the country and take part in a land market, enhancing land market, Rwandan land market, and have a contribution in urban development and climate resilience in our country. We have to make sure whatever that we do is contributing to all those aspects that she mentioned. And she recognized the role that IRPV, the achievement and the milestone that IRPV have achieved in those 15 years, but we still have a long journey to go. And she mentioned that we got support from them anytime that they are ready as a ministry and the national authority to help us to achieve more even in the coming years.
So I would like to welcome the first one, who is none other than, we have 3 people here who are international delegates, so I would like to, I'm going to invite them one by one. So I'm going to start with someone from the Institute of the Surveyors in Uganda. Sir, please come and give us your good message.
And I'm here to represent the institution and the president of the Institution of Surveyors. Moses Opito is my name. I'm a valuer. I went to the same university with the chairperson, although I was there earlier, before it became RD. It was called UCLAS, University College of Lands and Architecture Studies, a constituent college of University of Dar es Salaam. That's when I was there. Yeah, so I practice valuation in Uganda, but I am also an advocate of the courts of judicature. I realized that it is easier to practice valuation when you know the law, because I realized that there are so many legalities in there when it comes to competence, but also on issues of judicial practice. So today, if you came to Kampala, you might find me prosecuting valuers, but also defending them, and at the same time expanding frontiers in policy and laws. I have listened in carefully and with a lot of intent to every submission made here. Ladies and gentlemen, the issues of valuation are cross-cutting and they are the same. Actually, I must commend IRPV for doing a very good job. 15 years is still young, and the kind of issues that I've had being raised here, to me, are issues that in Uganda, even when we were 30 years, they couldn't emerge. So you must clap for yourselves for doing a good job. Maybe 3 things. 1, we need to improve on our competencies. Ladies and gentlemen, the next time I come back here, I don't want to see IRPV. I want to see an institute which deals with the valuation of everything. Munasikia? The valuation of tangible, intangibles, the valuation of plant and machinery, financial instruments, all sorts of legal rights, even social rights. I listened in to the advocates. There was a contention. They are saying undervaluation and overvaluation. That is okay, build your competence. At the end of the day, what we're interested in is a well-reasoned, justified, objective opinion of value. I actually keep telling people when I go to court, I don't bother about the final figure. I want to see the reason for the decision. Is it based on legal rights? Is it based on valuation principles? The integrity of the data? I know there will always be a dilemma. Should I go income? Should I go cost? Should I go market? The reason for you to choose your path and then arrive at a conclusion is what I will interrogate. I will not bother you at the end of the day. I keep telling people you can be the best doctor and you can do everything that you need to do, but your patient may die. So we shall not hang you because the patient has died. But if you're supposed to take temperature first, and then you take the guy for operation without taking temperature and the guy dies, we shall hang you and even hang you upside down. Well, as I conclude, I leave with a recommendation. Philosophy is wisdom, or the love of wisdom. While I was at law school, I came across what they call legal philosophy. What informs what we call jurisprudence. For example, you will not get regulation all the time to tell you that variances in valuation that are acceptable are 10% or 15%. But there's what we call judicial exercise. Out of the cases that end up in court, or out of the data that you capture, you realize that what is acceptable is maybe 10% or 5% or 15% for particular properties for particular purposes. We need to become thinkers. Get into the habit of thinking. I think, therefore I am. I will tell you one thing for sure, and I will wait for you to contradict me now or in future. What creates value in my philosophical mind is nature, labor, and the metabolism between the two. I challenge you one day to come up with value arising out of, it's either naturally provided as land, or it is something constructed out of labor, or the intersection between the two. Even the intangibles are created by labor and nature. But if you cannot know that ideally or primarily there is intrinsic and exchange value, where intrinsic is cost and income and exchange is market, you will never come up with good policies in valuation. When you're faced with dilemmas, you don't know what to do, you will be confused. Remember, purpose, basis, premise, and conclusion. Finally, in resolution of values where there are conflicting values, I recommend that IRPV comes up with a mechanism of handling those matters conclusively. We can draw inspiration from the legal system. I'm sure we have a Supreme Court here, right? If the Supreme Court has ruled on a matter, whether you're disgruntled or you're happy, we're sorry, isn't it? That's the end. Find a way of creating a panel. By the way, I did tell you, I'm also MCR. I belong to MCR. Find a way of conclusively having a committee or a panel that concludes everything once and for all. Yes, they may not be 100% correct, but that will be that. It will be binding upon all of us until another panel one day departs from that. I hope I haven't said a lot. I bring love and greetings. Next time when you come to Kampala, please come and feel free to eat matoke. We love matoke. Rwanda and Uganda are brothers and sisters, bound in blood, in love, and in the East African community. I thank you so much for listening to me.
Ruka just now.
I can defend my reports. Okay, so my recommendations that I can give, or maybe some takeaways that I can give, is I've seen that the institution is really good and is progressing well, considering the period 15 years, because there are certain organizations which are more than 15 years, but they are not doing like what you are doing. And this is a commendable thing. But there is also need to do health check of your systems and procedures as well. so as to ensure that you bridge the gap or you narrow the gap with the international valuation best practice as well. And on another note there is also need to sort of like come up with maybe a professional guidance, or it can be a standard where you say what are the minimum requirements of reporting that will sort of like mandate everyone who is doing who is writing a report or who is doing evaluation assignment, so that they can follow those requirements, and also to enforce the control systems as well, so that periodically or at random you can do system checks as well. And another thing that I've seen I always challenge a number of people, and I said, you will never find a work file from most evaluations that are being done. And I think evaluation records, according to international valuation standards as well, they are encouraged. Like in Saudi Arabia, you need a valuation file which is kept for 10 years. Any evaluation that we have done, it should be kept for 10 years. And in other institutions, they recommend 5 years. So it's another way of ensuring that whatever you do, you document everything. So like myself, I was trained, I started an in-house training before I started the bookish way of evaluation where you follow courses. So the organization, it's one of the international organizations, I will not mention it, maybe I might be marketing it. We were trained in-house throughout the evaluation processes, all the evaluation processes. So you follow systems. So every time when I get an evaluation assignment, any communication that I do with my correspondence, I do with my client, I record it. Where I get information about comparables, I record the name, the person, time that we have spoken. I keep record of that, especially these days it's digital. It's easy to keep information as well. So it's something that needs to be looked at so that every evaluation is supported in the event of a court case. You'll be able to defend yourself as a valuer. And there's also need for professional development. In other words, something that maybe the institute can consider, having a department where you come up with training manuals, training procedures, policies, like CPE policies, how we are going to award hours. It can be hours, it can be points for doing the CPAs. And at the end of the year, everyone should do certain hours. Like I'm a member of American Society of Appraisers, I'm required to do 20 hours every year. 20 hours every year. So I make sure that before end of year, I have 20 hours. So I look for CPEs, I look for courses which are relevant. Right now I've done a presentation already. So those are hours that I'm going to claim from my institute as well. So that my hours, I get 20 hours. But already I've surpassed them. And there is also, with professional development, there is also a need to do gap analysis as well. You do gap analysis of all your activities so that they are in compliance as well. Like what I've seen, most of valuers, they do valuation for secured lending purposes. So there's a need to come up with a professional guidance on how you can go through it. From the instruction, how do you do it? I handle the instruction. How do you do the research? I'm really surprised that in a secured lending, you need to use cost approach. Most banks that I've dealt with, they don't want cost approach. They tell you right from the start, we don't want cost approach. They want you to give them market approach because it reflects what is on the market. That is what they want to know, right, to ensure that they mitigate against the credit risks.
Things that some people have spoken of, and then if I repeat, my apologies, but I need to re-emphasize this. So top of my list is, and I tried deliberately not to use the word CPD, to use the word career training and continuing education, because the two don't make the same. One refers to your practical, experiential skills. The other one refers to the education you're consuming. You know, if you come to some of the stuff we do with Ruka, he does plant and machinery equipment with acre training. He's one of the trainers. So that's continuing education. Then there's career training where you go on site, you get master classes that are very practical, and the two are very important for you to develop. And I think as a continent, we need to be intentional about that. I was in Botswana, and one of the struggles they have is not a struggle that you have, Chairperson, is that after people have qualified with a degree, they say they don't need the CPDs anymore. So they refuse to attend CPDs, even if they are compulsory. It's a different type of a headache, and there are many geographies that has that particular headache, that we need to build a culture of continuing education and career training as a continent. The second point, it's around, I think the point that was made around unacceptable valuation methods. I wouldn't call it that. I think unacceptable is a harsher word as opposed to modern valuation methods. And I'll tell you why I'm much more modern valuation methods. It's because the world has moved on. I was in Mombasa attending the ISK conference, and somebody presented on what they call frameworks for climate-adjusted valuation. So we need to come up with valuation models that respond to climate change. We need to come up with valuation. Whether comparable sales still relevant or not, we have not interrogated that. We have accepted it because it's what we have done for 8 years. And I think as Africa, we've got the opportunity to quantum leap over some of these models to say, what are some of the contextual models? There's no other country, for example, like Rwanda, that has many hills. You know, I mean, if you go in Europe, I ran a marathon recently, it's flat. So the complexities of doing evaluation here and doing evaluation in Europe are different, just by geography. So we need to begin to, which brings me to my third point, to say, we make a choice between either we are consumers of standards or we are producers of standards. So IVSC, good, brilliant, all of us must conform to it. But the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we just consumers of IVSC and we write a paragraph in our report that says, according to the Red Book, this is how it's done? I'm yet to find a valuation that says, and I'm glad that IRPV is going to produce their standard. We've got we've got a blue book, which is ISK. We've got a green book, which is Nigeria. We've got an orange book, which is Zambia is producing theirs. I don't know what color you're going to pick, because blue is gone. The passport is blue, so it's gone. So I'm waiting for the color. South Africa is producing a gold book. The point I'm making about consumers of standards, and I'm yet to meet a valuation report that says, according to the green book, this is how you do this. But I've seen many reports that says, according to the red book, this is how you do that. It's a very important thing. If you look at the board of the IVSC, don't look at it in the names. Look at the industries where they come from. Look at the qualifications that they have. 95% of the members of the board of the IVSC, both on the standards committee and on the general board, are accountants. And they come from accounting firms. Close to 60% of the members of the IVSC are accountants and accounting firms. Now, think about that. Let it mellow with you for a second to say, as I say, the story of a lion will be told by the hunter until the lion knows how to write its own story. That means no matter how you don't like auditors, they are smart enough to know that they'll write the rules that suits them, and you must conform to those because you are a consumer of standards, not a producer of standards. It's a very important thing. So I'm looking forward, Chairperson,
when you produce your standards. And you know my story about the chapter on land, that only Africa can write a chapter in the IVSU on land. Whether you called it standard, I think now they are on number 700. So you must come up with number 800, must be valuation on unregistered tribal chief community, whatever you call it, land. Because you are the only people who can do that. But if we don't do it, somebody else is going to write that chapter for us and we're going to consume it. My last point is around standardization and mutual recognition. Is that there's a journey that we are taking, and thanks to the IRPV and the AFRES and one of the things that we haven't spoken about, most people know the Africa Valuation Conference. What most people don't know is that underlying that conference is a group of valuation industry organizations that last year took a decision that at some point they would want to coalesce all of these standards. So the way they are commonalities, you must have and achieve this dream called an African valuer, which AFRES has always wanted to achieve. That if I'm a valuer, trade in unregistered land. So RUCA is based in Saudi Arabia, it's from Zimbabwe. Now the training that we do on plant machinery and equipment, the people that are on that training, one is from India, I think I'm right. There's one from India, there's RUCA is in Saudi Arabia, to whatever. There's Angela from Uganda. The lady they were talking about is Angela from Uganda. It's Angela from Uganda. It's a specialist in that field. Then you've got Carlos, who's from South Africa. Then you've got Chifiwa, who's from South Africa. Then you've got, I forgot the name of the chap from Botswana. Why is that it's important? It talks to this thing about mutual recognition. Because what you're doing, you're taking expertise in Africa, irrespective of where they come from. You recognize that we're not divided by geography. Or let me rephrase. Even though we are divided by geography, we must combine ourselves and coalesce around knowledge. Because knowledge doesn't know geography. And that is why ACRE, majority of the stuff that we do is designed to do that across Africa, everywhere in Africa. And all of the skills, where we can find the skills, we use it, including here. And I think as you develop your standards, what I'm looking forward to is not the content itself, is how does that standards start to deal with these particular factors around how do we standardize, how do we mutually recognize that Nigeria might have written a chapter that is better than us and we will just borrow from it. And then all of that kind of stuff. Uganda might have done something. All right. And finally, as I said, let's not let the hunter write our story. Let's write our own story. Produce our own standards. Thank you very much. Good luck. I'll see you then.
Just like I did to the board members, I'm giving them each 20 seconds just to say a word. Say your name, and then just a word to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I've spoken a lot. I will only tell everybody here that on the floor here, you don't see John Mugisha. I call him Junior because there is a big John here. So John Mugisha Junior was part of this organizing team, and Wakazina Jean-Claude has also been part of this very nice team. So thank you very much for having turned up as this much or as this many, and we hope for the best and for the better in the future. Thank you very much.
Bagiye kwirirwa nitwa Umutoni wa Senatine, ni umuvalwa. I can speak English also. I'm Umutoni wa Senatine, I'm a valuer. I was secretary of this committee, and I'm thankful to have you all in this meeting. And on my side, I can say it's a success to us, according to all the time we took to organizing this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm
you.
Thank you so much. I'm called Blaise Gizeneza, and I'm working as communications and operations officer at IRPV. So it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Be part of this organizing team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Batazan Mahalu, and I'm an accountant officer.
Thank you very much, the organizing team. We are closing a meeting or a conference or general assembly when you are this big. Clap for yourselves. So this means you have indeed valued this occasion. And I thank you very much for your support, for your presence. I also appreciate the moderators of the sessions we have today. You did an amazing job. Thank you very much. I appreciate the panelists for your insights, for your interventions that have enriched our understanding and our skills in evaluation. And we are going to use this going forward. I want to, in a special way, to thank our guests from outside Rwanda. Thank you very much for making time to come and join us today when we are celebrating 15 years of our institution. Thank you very much for sharing with us. And we promise if you invite us to your countries, to your institutions for any event, we shall also come. And speaking of events, you have seen that we have been with Mashilo from ECA. They organize valuation conferences annually. I don't remember the dates for the next conference, but we will share the news about that conference. Again, we also have the AFRES annual conference, where we learn a lot of things, and most of these guys will meet there, Mashilo and others. So you can imagine someone who attends AFRES conference annually. So they are as equipped as these gentlemen you have had. So I call upon you to put it in your agenda to attend the AFRES Annual Conference 2026 that will be held in our region, in our neighboring country, Uganda. It is not very far from here. We can take a bus and attend the conference. We meet other professionals from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Zambia, from Zimbabwe, from Ghana, from even Europe and America. So please, I invite you to put that into your agenda. This 15 years we are celebrating, we have talked about the achievements, what we have achieved as an institution, and what we have achieved as individual valuers. Grown in that perspective. Those who joined in the middle and those who joined last year, you have come at the right time, and when we will be celebrating 20 years, we will have also reached somewhere and we will be having a lot to celebrate. But again, there are some of our colleagues that didn't make it to this day. Those we started with as registered valuers, but they are not with us today because of life circumstances. We live, and at some point in time, leave. We live, and at some time, we leave. So, we have about 5 valuers who have left us in the past 15 years at different times. May their souls rest in peace. We have those who passed recently. We have Alphonse Navige, who even served on the board of IRPV. We have a renowned real estate professional and who played a key role in AFRES and was also a member of IRPV, Mr. Akin Olawale, who passed away some years ago. And we have also Eddie Wagamba, who was also a valuer. We have Duncan Muriuki, who was also a valuer, and another person called Daniel Rwanda. So these were supposed to be here with us to celebrate this 15, but and Karimera. Thank you for the reminding. So we have 6 who have left us. Dear guests, dear followers, we are coming to the end of this talk show, what I call talk show. We have talked a lot, isn't it? Now we are going to another function where there will be less talking, but much interaction, dancing if you like, and also we shall be giving awards, so don't miss. Maybe you are the one who we are going to award, to give an award. So I invite all of you to come to the gala dinner, which is starting shortly at 7 p.m. at M Hotel. So don't miss that one. We shall continue there to enjoy with a few speeches, awards, and interactions. In the name of the Board of Directors of IRPV, I thank you very much, and I call upon you to join us with the actions that you are going to take from the deliberations of this conference. I don't think that is clear. The deliberations of this conference, we are going to take actions. And I call upon you to join us to make sure that those actions are implemented, and by the time we come back here, we shall be talking about more success. I want to thank again the academic institutions that partner with us, University of Nigeria and the University of Rwanda. Thank you very much for being part of this occasion, and we continue to work with you. If I continue like this, I can talk the talk. So let me end here by wishing you a good evening, and once again thanking you for your participation. Thank you.